Our first one, we have Are You a Chef? Whose cuisine will reign supreme? Basically, this game is you control a sort of Protoss zealot / celebrity chef, and you're running through the level trying to defeat your opponents, also while making extreme cooking cuisine. So if you haven't had a chance to play it, check it out. The next one, Left to Die. Obviously, Blizzard is a fan of a lot of other games out there as well, so we like to do a little tributes from now and then. Basically, this game is a multiplayer version of, I think it's the Hansen 2 mission from StarCraft II Wings of Liberty, where you hold up during the evening, the Zergi / zombies invade, and by day you go out and you try to cleanse the realm of all the evil beasties. Star Jeweled. And we had a better name for it, but WoW already took it, so we kind of just went with Star Jeweled. But basically, this game is one of your jewel-crushing games, matching up jewels, smashing them, lots of pretty effects. But also, when you do that, you get cash. And when you have cash, you can buy troops. And when you have troops, you could send them against the enemy and smash their castle area. And last but not least, Blizzard Dota. Have you guys had a chance to play this yet? Guess not. Okay. Obviously, we're all fans of the Dota game, and also it gave us a great chance to recreate a lot of our old Warcraft 3 heroes that we made years and years ago and bring them together with characters we have in the StarCraft universe. So you have Raynor and Kerrigan and Zeratul fighting Blade Masters and Abominations and Tauren Marines. That's pretty kick-ass in my opinion. So, will there be Diablo in there? We shall see. So now I'd like to turn it over to Mr. Alan Dilling, lead artist.
Hey everybody, my name is Alan Dilling, lead artist on StarCraft II, and today we're going to talk a little bit about some of the models and some of the artwork we did for these mods in more depth. Like Sammy said, Left to Die, obviously we had some fun inspiration for it, and we got some new zombified models. Basically, for all these mods, we didn't just take the base campaign art and do minor tweaks. We actually made a lot of new art from scratch as well. We got really psyched out about the stuff, and we had a blast playing in the office. So just run through some of these. Now, if you play the demo back there, you're going to recognize some of this stuff. We took the Baneling, for instance, and he's really scaled up in this version. So we call him the Kaboomer. And so we added more polys. We rounded him off a little bit more, some more pointy things. Those are always good. And running through some more here. We took the Brutalist from the campaign you might recognize. Made him the Hunterling. We gave him some wings, gave him a good green zombified goo coming out of him. And basically he'll jump on he'll go over your troops, over the walls, everything. He kind of flies along and jumps on your head, so. We took the Infestor again, and we, kind of grayed out his texture, desaturated him a little bit, gave him like the pig pin and stink cloud around him. And he's now the Choker, and he's got these cool tentacles that come out and then snag units and pull them into you. Again, we kind of scaled them up, and you guys will see it again if you play the demo. And the Overseer, everybody loves, and with some tweaks, we got the Spotter unit. So we took out his eyeballs, gave him some crazy, smoke and goo coming out of him, some glowy bits, and then of course his big snout, and he shoots down huge acid spitballs on the enemy. So someone else to watch out for. And of course we have the Ultralisk. So this is our version. It's called the Stank. He's all gnarled up. He's got emissive glowies all over him, and again, all zombified and nasty. And basically, every time you see this guy coming to your base, it's basically GG. He just kicks your butt. But again, I encourage you guys to check out the demo back there. And of course, like Sammy mentioned, we have our version of Dota with all the cool hero models. And we took some of the ones from Warcraft and StarCraft, remodeled them, starting with, you guys might recognize some old school shots here from Sammy from Warcraft 3. We have the
kind of old, dude. Come on.
You've improved a lot since then. That was kind of crappy, actually, dude. So we got the Dwarven Mountain King and the Blade Master. And Sammy did a new concept here, which is more of a Dark Templar version. So we kind of got the fusion between StarCraft and Warcraft again. And here's the model. So basically from the Warc 3 version to this one, it's probably about, I'd say about 4 times as many polygons, almost twice as many bones. So he's a lot more dynamic, a lot more flexible. And we have 2 versions you'll see here. We kind of have the light and the dark side. Again, I have the orange and the blue for all the units across the game. So one is a little more traditional, and the other one has like the Zerg skulls on them, more like the evil side. And here's a textured version. Again, we have all the cool shaders, you have the speculative on them, you have the environment mapping, you have the energy run down the sword, and again, much more detail in all these models. And Jay later on will show you how these guys move in action. And of course, the Mountain King. So this time we merged him with our version of the Marauder, so it's kind of a Dwarven Marauder, basically. And again, we have the evil version and the good version. You got the cool spikies and the huge swords. Actually, right now he's also a range unit, but we're working on getting him into a purely melee state. Basically, he came out so awesome. We're like, this guy just looks like he's a world beater. He's got all these great weapons, and so we keep working with the designers to try and make him pure melee damage only. Another one here you guys might remember from Warcraft 3 and WoW is the Abomination. So we have a new concept here from Trevor Jacobs, one of our other lead artists. And again, the models, very detailed, a lot more than we ever had in Warcraft. On the left, you'll see kind of more of a Terran motif on him. He's got like armor on him. The other one has a big like Ultralisk blade he uses to cleave people, and he's got the Hydralisk skull and everything. And again, the textured versions. These guys did a great job. We had a blast making all this stuff. Like, we guys really geeked up about it. We know there's a lot of cool mods out there the community's making, and we get so excited seeing that stuff. We had a chance to actually contribute to this, and we love it.
Yeah, we had been working on StarCraft Wings of Liberty for about, what was it, 20 years, guys? 21? We ended up doing basically all these mods. We started right after, so in the beginning of August, and we had to wrap it up for BlizzCon. So just a couple months, we banged out these 4 levels plus some more that you're going to be seeing in the near future. But that just goes to show you like what can be achieved when you got a bunch of geeked up artists working on some kind of fresh little property. In 2 months, we had these 4 little maps that you guys have been playing today.
So how come we worked on these? Isn't that going to slow down the expansion?
I don't know. The expansion will be ready when it's ready, right?
That's what I hear.
Hopefully before 2012. That's when the end of the world is, right?
That's right. That's our deadline, basically, right there. BattleNet goes down 2012. Also, we got some other fun things in here. Like, you guys noticed this guy from World of Warcraft. So we brought him in, remodeled him from scratch, added a lot more detail to him, and have our own version of Grunty. So you'll notice him again in the game waddling around, and he's super fast, actually. So we had a lot of fun doing this kind of stuff because it's kind of outside the norm and the typical rules we have for Zerg, Protoss, and Terran. So we got to kind of flex a little bit and have a little more creative fun. And Sylvanas, of course. Couldn't do anything without her. Was that for Sylvanas? Random screams. Woo! Again, we have the regular version and the Banshee version, the undead. So, again, lots of detail. We had a blast making these things. Here's the textured versions. So if you play here in the game, make sure to get the speed and dexterity upgrades. By the end of the level, like if you're like level 10, 15, she's running around, you can't even catch her. So we had a lot of fun.
That sounds unbalanced.
You have to talk to the designer panel about that. All I know is just I select her every time. I think you guys also recognize the Tauren Marine here. He also makes a cameo in the campaign, in case you guys haven't missed that. I think it was a Rain or 2. If you catch him, he'll run into an outhouse and it takes off into space. So go back.
It's hidden up on top of the Zerg base. Yeah, he'll run into the outhouse and blast off somehow.
It's magic.
Gas propelled.
Yeah, exactly. Here's the final textured version with all his glory and his lightning effects and everything. Yeah, he's also a badass unit to play in the game. He's very tough, kind of slow, but very powerful. And of course, Irish Chef. We have to have a new chef character, so we took our awesome zealot, gave him a little chef's hat, he's got a frying pan, he's got his bib with some decals on it, you know. And what is a chef without his utilities here? He's got his hockey stick. He uses that in the kitchen all the time.
What do you cook with a hockey stick?
I don't even.
How about rice checks?
Oh.
Thank you. That was a hockey joke. It's California. No one watches hockey.
Nobody plays hockey out here. What's that? What's ice?
There's the fan. All right.
So again, we had a lot of fun with this one. There's tons of cool stuff we made, even made new console interfaces for all these mods. So you notice on this one, when you load it up, it's actually the Protoss console, but it's got all sorts of chef's knives everywhere and pots and pans and a grill and the stove hanging on top of it. So again, check it out. And we got a few new effect spells we put in for this stuff. Again, ground up, we did a ton of work over the last 2 months on this stuff. So it's kind of fun to go back through on the effects side and actually remake some of the things we've done, you know, what, 6 years ago in Warcraft. So a little bit more detail and kind of redoing some of the same stuff we did back in the day, just a little more oomph. Here we go. This is actually the level up ability. Going through, so this is also your player death. So usually we have the guys stumble around, we have some really cool animations, Jay usually does, that the guy's dying, but for this mod, we want to make sure it's very obvious when a hero dies for 2 reasons. One, you want to be able to see exactly what's happening and when your characters or your teammates are going down. The other one is it just feels a lot more rewarding when you see this huge blast of energy and plasma just shred somebody to death. So a little more rewarding and fun. And again, since it is not the multiplayer side and the esports side of it, we kind of got to go off and make it a little more over the top, which is always cool. And of course, the Marauder has this Storm Bolt. So it's not quite as big when you play the game, but
I keep suggesting that this is a new epic level mount in World of Warcraft. Just a giant thrill hammer.
Ride your hammer in the battle, what else? And last we have the Thunderclap, also from the Marauder Dwarven Mountain King. So this thing is huge in the game. He stuns everybody, takes massive damage. Use it all the time, basically. Level that thing up first. And now I'll turn everything over to Jay Hathaway, our senior animator.
It's Jay, guys, come on!
Thanks. So yeah, we're showing off the animations that we did for the hero mods. And as an animator, what I usually do is when I get a character, what I really love to do and what really geeks me out is I look at him and I think, what is the coolest thing I can do with this guy? Like, how far can I push this unit to try to get, you know, life and maybe a little bit of humor out of it? So the first thing I do is I do a little bit of research. And a lot of times I'll just go to the modeler. The modeler, you know, just built this and textured it and put all his heart and soul into it. And they usually have a really good idea about what they want to see. So hello, let's go back. Play.
Give it a second.
We must wait. When the Blade Master is ready, he will dance.
It should be on autoplay.
Yeah, it should be on. There he is. Awesome. So I went to Phil Gonzalez, who modeled and textured this guy, and I was asking him, you know, what are you thinking about this guy? And Phil said, well, he should be like a samurai fighting game. So right away I was like, oh, that's perfect. I know exactly what to do. So this guy has a very stoic stance. He's got super, super fast attacks. He has a really cool kind of crouch walk that he uses when he approaches a unit. And then there's the run. And the run is a little bit exaggerated and a little bit slow, but there's a purpose for that. And that's because in the game you see him really small. And you see him in 3/4 view. And so a little bit of an exaggerated run looks better in the game. And then also, the slow is for, the game plays in 2 speeds. There's regular speed and fast speed. And so you have to find a balance where it works between, you know, both. If you have him at regular speed and then you see him in fast speed, it kind of looks like a Benny Hill show. So you got to find a balance for that. Next we have Sylvanas, and she's based on WoW. She is fast, efficiency and speed. She has cat-like grace, and her run, once again, is a little bit slow, a little bit exaggerated, but when you see it in the context of the game, it works. It works really well.
Wanted to jump in real quick, too. If you noticed before, the Blade Master you saw was a red orc. That was actually a fel orc. We've made 2 different versions. For the blue side, it's a regular orc, Dark Templar Blade Master, and on the orange side, we have the fel orc, Dark Templar with the Zerg skulls and everything, Blade Master. So, as you're seeing here, this is Sylvanas as she was when she was a high elf, and then on the other side, she's the Dark Queen. So we have 2 different versions, so when you're fighting each other, you know which one is yours. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so next we have the Dwarven Marauder. He's based on the Marauder animations. This guy, it was a little bit hard to animate in that from a three-quarter view, he's kind of boxy, and it's hard to get a really extreme pose that reads in silhouette. And another thing is that he's made of metal, so he doesn't really have a lot of appendages where you can get a lot of overlap and follow-through for the actions. But we did give him a dance animation, you just saw that. And for that, I went to YouTube, which is a great source for animation, and looked up pop and lock dances, and so we gave him a nice, cool little dance. Next, we have the Tauren Marine. He's based on the Marine Anims, and the thing that I could add to this was, of course, he's chewing his cud because he's a cow, and his tail. He's got a tail, so tried to make it very cow-like. It just sort of hangs there, and then it whips around when it's needed. Then next, we have the A-Bomb, or the Abomination. And this guy was a lot of fun to do. He's really big and heaving, and yet he's really fast. So he's based on kind of samurai fighting games, once again. He's not very smart, kind of has a one-track mind. He only has one eyeball that works. You can see his little eye ticking around in there. And so I wanted to give it a lot of overlap and follow-through to kind of convey, that he's fat. And so I put a lot of extra bones in for the jiggle. He has a scoop spell where he eats a unit, and then he has a barf spell, which he then barfs the unit up. And for that, I used, you can see there in the walk, I used a kind of a sphincter rig that I use on some models. I hope I can say that. That opens and closes. That worked really good for that mouth. And then for his walk, I gave him a nice double bounce and a lot of overlap and follow through, and the little dangly bits kind of flapping around down there. So next I also do the portraits, and my considerations there is that the portraits are kind of small. In the UI, it's a little postage-size stamp area, and the camera is kind of tight. So there's not a lot of wiggle room to get a lot of action in those. And so what I try to do is with each race, I try to give them some sort of commonality. So like with the Zerg, I try to put a heartbeat in every one of the portraits where it was appropriate. And with the Terran, I tried to give it a dynamic camera. And on mobile units, you can see that because it's like a shaky cam. And with this, you can see I have a very slight drifting camera in there. And it's just enough to give it, a little more dynamism. All of the portraits have a stand breathing animation. I gave them a look around for kind of an alternate look. And then they all have a talk animation. And for that, I usually, kind of give the head bobbing around because we use a program called Face Effects. And Face Effects, you build the phonemes that you need, and then it programmatically goes in and listens to the sound and does the lip sync for you, which is good for localization and foreign languages. It helps out a lot. It works pretty good, but it needs a lot of massage. And so I work with a guy named Sam Fung, who is a technical artist, and he does a lot of lip sync polish. So Sam, if you're out there, thank you very much. Next we have the A-Bomb, and this guy's all about just the eye. He's got one working eye and his tongue. And so a lot of times what I'll do for the portraits is give them eye darts. And eye darts are when the eye kind of looks in like a little triangle pattern and snapping around. And sometimes that's all you need just to give a little bit of life to it. And then on the blink, you can see when he blinks, his eyeball pulls in a little bit because he's got such a big bulging eye. And then I gave him a little head tilt on one of the animations, and it kind of looks like a puppy dog to me. I don't know. Finally, we have Sylvanas, and she's stoic and proud and a bit aloof, maybe a little stuck up. And so for her breathing, it's very shallow. I felt that was a little more ladylike. And finally, we have Grunty. And Grunty is the comic relief. He's based on the Murloc. He's very fast, kind of hyper. And when you see the unit in the game, His animations are very cartoony, and he's kind of based on the dancing frog atoms, you know, that you see. So, and with that, I hand it over to Brian Sousa.
Thank you, Jay.
You guys are getting better. Good, good, good.
So today I am going to run through some
Scoot
of the...
in, Brian.
What?
Scoot in. Excuse me.
I'm going to run through some of the environments and the art that we did for some of the mods that we worked on. As you can see, though, I wanted to get this straight. I am not Dustin Browder. We might look a little similar, but as these are avatars in the game, do you guys know what portrait this is for? The Goliath, yes. I'm the regular Goliath pilot, and Dustin is the mercenary, so pretty much...
The mercenary is more powerful, right?
Not at all.
Okay.
So first I'm going to go through some Irish Chef doodads and props that we made. Irish Chef is basically like a game show, and so we made our main area to look like a kitchen. And of course you come to the stove to create your recipes, such as the, I don't know, lava-seared Muta wings or the Ultra Rick roll. We put a Protoss feel on all of this, but you can obviously tell what they are. The counter, where, you know, with a sink and some commemorative StarCraft II plates on top. And, oops. Of course, no kitchen is complete without a refrigerator and pantry. These are some of the food pickups, the ingredients that you'll find in the game that you need to make your recipes with, such as noodles or, what was that, butter, cheese, eggs, zergling meat, tentacles, for some of the awesome foods. And the power-ups that you can pick up to nuke your other players. Some will give you speed, like the dash or the Great Equalizer, which will nuke the first place player, and the decoy, which will place down an ingredient on the map that will explode when another player picks it up. But I think we did a lot more work on the Dota map. A lot of people put a lot of work into this map, and I think we're really proud of this mod in particular. All of the towers that we made are based on chess pieces, and here's the good and evil pieces. With subtle differences. You can see that evil has spikes and glowing orange. We didn't want to create a game map that was based on either StarCraft or Warcraft or Diablo. We wanted a game arena that was generic enough that all heroes can fight on it together. And here are the Night Towers. All of these towers were made by Chaz Head, one of the artists on our team. Is that you, Chaz?
He's not that cool.
Fan.
I think Chaz's mom's here. Hi, Mrs. Chaz.
And the Rook Towers. These are just awesome. I like all of these things that Chaz has worked on. And of course, the main tower that you're going to come across. Ooh, the King Towers. This is your main objective. Once you lose your King Tower, the battle is over. I think if any of the mods, especially this one, I think you should try them all, but I like this one the best. And I think I have, oh, there's actually more art we did, not just towers, but starting locations, which is based on the card suits. You can see like all of the diamonds and clubs and hearts. These were done by Sam Yang. See here? No Sam. Oh well. And the healing pad. Now, if you notice here, all of these colors are team colors, so you can use them in your mods any way you want, and you can give it to whatever team player you want to do that to.
Well, that's something else we should mention too, that all this art that we're putting in, everything from like the custom consoles to like the hero selection screens, all the units and backgrounds, everything is going to be available for everyone to use for their own mods. So we know the community and all you guys love to make that stuff, so this just helps contribute more to that.
Yeah, these will all be in the editor when we start releasing these. And here's the actual game board that we created. As you can see, everything is pretty much new. We have new chess tile sets with, you know, D&D dice. And
Hey, he rolled a critical. It's a 20.
they're all criticals. We also did an awesome, there's a sky background, you can see it with the, so it's more of like a fantastic arena that you're fighting in. And this is also a basic Dota layout where you have the 3 paths that your armies will take. And of course you go down to the other side where they have their king tower.
And you also notice we even tweaked the existing barracks and the warp gate.
Oh yeah.
So we put like little turrets on them, so it kind of has a medieval twist again on a typical StarCraft building, which is really cool.
Yeah, all of the buildings in this one are unique for this tile set. And with that, I'm gonna send you back to Sammy.
All right. Oh, another thing on our Dota map. Please, go ahead. Sorry. You're too kind. If you guys play the Dota map, check out in the background, we have a couple wireframe planets, one of Azeroth, one of Korhal, and one of Sanctuary, all of the 3 Blizzard worlds that are all going to be representative in this game. So I think now we're going to turn it over to some Q&A. I don't know where our peeps are, but they're going to be coming around asking you if you have any questions. Hey, where are you guys going?
Come back.
It's okay, you guys can go.
The questions are the best. I know you.
Don't let her ask anything.
Oh. Do I? All right. This question is for Brian Sousa.
You're going to have to speak up, ma'am. We can't hear you.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That was a joke.
This question is for Brian Sousa. It's a 2-parter.
Uh-oh.
The first part would be, Brian, how did you get so sexy?
Wow.
And also, the second part would be, I hear you have magic fingers. Will you be demoing this later?
Yes. Well, first of all, my parents are right over there, so you can thank them for how sexy I am. That's not really up to me, but you know, this is who I am. Second part, yes, I did dabble in massage therapy for a little while. So, aside from being an artist, I'm a massage therapist, but that's in my past now. Sorry.
He's very good.
StarCraft.
He was young and needed the money.
This now for the first time.
Except
Thank you,
for
Zeus. I
Jay.
love you.
Jay loves my
I feel
hands.
cheated. I need some magic fingers here.
Hi, I'm actually a digital art student, and I was wondering if you guys had any advice or words of wisdom for someone who wants to do what you guys do.
Sure, I'll start. So you're obviously into Blizzard games, correct? Do you have a favorite one? Warcraft, StarCraft, Diablo?
I'm a fan of StarCraft. I play WoW, really all of them.
Okay, so say, first of all, you're going to school, learning the different programs. If you're into doing concept art, I would definitely suggest do some fan art for us. Draw some fan art of the different universes, because we want to know that the people that we're hiring can kind of do what we do. You know, if an artist comes in and they're amazing and they have the most realistic bowl of fruit, doesn't really fit the games, right? I mean, if they can't draw an orc or a zerg or Diablo, it's kind of tough, right? So know the style you're going for. And then also, what I really like is to see what the person's personal art is. So if I go onto someone's website and, like I said, maybe it's a bunch of drawings of realistic buildings or fruit or portraits, that's great, but I want to see if their personal art, what their passion is related to kind of our games as well. Like if I go to a website and someone has Thor fighting Captain America and there's like a Pegasus and a unicorn dueling in the background, well, we'll look past the Pegasus part, but that Thor and Captain America, that's pretty awesome. So definitely, if you're sending it to any company, not just Blizzard, know what the company works on and kind of stylize certain pieces to what the company is, and include new art as well. I've looked at portfolios where there's 2006 was the last new piece that I saw, and it's like, well, what have you been doing for 4 years? You know, so yeah, that would be my suggestion. You guys have anything else you wanted to add?
I was going to say another thing just to kind of get you in line with like production of video games and figure out the whole mindset and the pipeline is do mods. I mean, it doesn't even have to be a StarCraft II mod. I think we're going to release the art tools at some point in the future, but even other engines out there like Unreal, you know, all sorts of different ones, you can make a lot of your own art and kind of understand what it takes to put it into the game, and you know, limitations on textures and polygons and animation and that kind of stuff. Just it's kind of like hands-on, you know, material right there, trying to teach you how we do things. So that's always a good start right there. If you can show us something actually running in a game, that's you know, one more extra bonus you have in your portfolio.
Thanks.
All right.
Thanks.
No questions?
We must have answered everything already.
We are amazing.
Yeah, please, any questions about how sexy Brian is, whatever. We're not ashamed. We'll answer anything.
Bring them on. I like those questions.
All right. Like, I'm also a digital arts student, but what sort of thing in the portfolio, like, would you say having a specific portfolio or more of a wide range? Like, I do a lot of modeling, but also sketches and, like, programming. So, like, all together, do they like to see a wide range of talents or excelling at lighting or...
I would focus on whatever your best effort is. Like, if there's something that you look at that you've done and you're like, that's okay, we may go, oh, that's okay, right?
Yeah.
So whatever you think your best sort of strengths are,
Yeah, at this point...
show that, and then anything else is also good.
Yeah, but it's definitely quality over quantity. If you do like 2 things very well, send those 2 things in. Don't pad it with a lot of stuff that you're not really proud of, because then we're going to see that also. And, you know, we might look past the 2 pieces that are really good if you have a lot more that is just okay or not your strengths. So if you're not a great animator, don't throw in a couple, you know, just simple animations on something to make it look better. But yeah, I would focus on what you're good at and just, you know, tighten those up the best you can.
So another thing, though, is you're a student and you're trying to fill out your portfolio, and generally there's kind of 3 different areas for games. There's fantasy, World War II, and what's the third one? Sci-fi. So if you have a quiver of different models that you worked on, polish them up, make them look really good, and then customize your demo to, you know, whatever studio that you're going to be applying to. You know, so if they're working on fantasy games, put all your fantasy stuff in it. If it's World War II stuff, put all your World War II stuff in there. You know, so that you kind of have, you can mix and match. It doesn't have to be the same demo for everybody. You can kind of customize it.
That's a good point. Whenever I first applied here, I took a picture that Chris Messon had drawn like a long time ago for, I think, the Warcraft II manual. It was like an orc and an elf fighting, and I just modeled it out in 3D, and it's exactly how it was, and, you know, just kind of one extra little thing to impress them. So it's always trying to be unique and stand out, and it's totally cool to multitask. A lot of us at work have multiple skills. Just make sure, like these guys said, that it's like your best stuff, because you just want to show the cream of the crop.
Thank you.
Hey guys, just wondering, when you guys are doing the design process, have you ever have a class with each other? For example, you're designing a model, and then the other guy just say your design is horrible, and then how do you guys solve that kind of situation? Thanks.
We usually just hit the guy, kind of, bam. No, usually when we come up with the design for StarCraft and any of our games, it's a lot of it, and it sounds kind of hokey, it's a team effort. So design will come to us, and they'll say, all right, we're looking for a specific type of unit that does this. Say, I'm looking for something that is an air attacker that only attacks ground. We don't want it to look like the Banshee in StarCraft II, because that's what that already does. You know, so we have to come up with some other ideas. Well, what could it be? A lot of times also, the artist will just draw a cool picture, and the designers will go, oh yeah, this is awesome, we got to put this in. Now we got to figure out where to put it in. So there's a lot of ideas that get passed around the team, and a lot of times we'll just make a really, really rough model, and we'll let them kind of work around with it. We used to do a lot of final art, and then they would say, yeah, this unit's just not working out, we're going to get rid of it. Now we still kind of have some of that in StarCraft, and all those end up being in our single-player campaign. So certain things like, you know, you'll see the Firebat, you'll see the Goliath, things that aren't in the multiplayer. We had at one time made them for multiplayer, and then decided, no, let's see if we can make something cooler. Or the designers will say, let's make something different. And so a lot of times we sort of bounce ideas back and forth on each other, and then put in something that's placeholder. And if it works, then we'll make the final model.
Yeah, it's all about the iterations that we do. We start with one thing, and, you know, over time, like that one unit that we started with 3 years ago will have completely changed by the time we actually get it in the game, for the final game anyway. So yeah, we iterate on almost everything that you see, and that's why we're not done until we're done. We can always do something better, I think.
A good example of that is the Thor unit, where we came up with this idea, back in the day we're brainstorming after Warcraft 3, and it's like, cool, giant robots, some kind of awesome mech thing. We didn't know exactly what it was going to be. Sammy had some cool concepts. And so we finally modeled it, put it in, years ago. And design was like, hey, that's awesome. We don't really need that right now. And we're like, but it was so awesome. They're like, we understand how much that adds to the game and the flavor. So they actually were super cool about it. And over the years, we finally found a good role for it, and we tweaked it a lot. So much so that even during the beta, we actually changed the model. So the shipping one and the beta one are actually two different Thor models. So that again shows us, even like the last hour, we're always working for perfection and trying to iterate again and again.
Can I add? Is that why it takes 10 years to make just one game?
Yeah.
And the other thing is, are you guys going to put? I saw Protoss Purifier in the art gallery. Are you guys going to put that model in game anytime soon?
We had it at one time in the early versions of StarCraft II. It was called the Soul Reaver. It was called the Purifier. We had all different kinds of names for it. We've learned to not name anything anymore and just call it New Zerg Unit 1, 2. I mean, we just don't give a name because we end up calling it that years after. But you can probably bet that a lot of the old concept art that we still have will be resurrected at some point for something. If we like an image or we like an idea, but it's not appropriate at the time to put it in a certain thing, we'll just hold on to it instead of messing up the game and trying to force something in like we did with the Thor. Thank you. We'll kind of wait now that we've learned our lesson and hold it until it's ready to be added to the game.
Hi, for the development of these mods and what you do on a day-to-day basis, how closely do you have to work with the engineering team?
Well, we work with the programmers quite a bit. I mean, there's a couple different layers. There's like the main code guys that handle the fundamentals of the engine and what's happening. And we also have some guys called the data specialists, and they're kind of like the liaison. They actually implement all this stuff, and we have a really cool system that very quickly, within minutes, we can put a new spell together. It's like, hey, we want something that shoots out banelines, and when it explodes, it turns a bunch of SCVs, and then they gravitate towards somebody and explode in 5 different colors. And with our system, we can put together stuff really quickly. And the cool thing with the mods is we have such a huge library built up from making Wings of Liberty that we can really quickly put something in there, prototype it, and if we dig it, then we'll go in later on the next day and start putting like real art for it. So we work pretty closely. I work with the data guys every day, basically. We're emailing back and forth. They go to the desk, we hang out and talk about like the best way to do things, because a lot of times you'll have an idea like this is going to be badass and it's going to do this awesome thing, and then you realize, okay, the engine quite can't handle that, or the frame rate could be an issue, or gameplay stuff. So then you talk with them and figure out what's actually viable, what can actually do it, and you kind of compromise. And again, it's just like everything. We keep iterating, and you're just trying to come up with that middle ground that works best for art and design.
Another thing that's really cool about the mods, is that you'll see them do stuff with it in the community that it was never really intended to do. Like when you see them modded out and it's a first-person shooter, it's like, oh my God, I never intended the animation to look like that, but it still holds up, and the textures and stuff. And I always find that amazing that that works.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys.
No problem.
Thanks.
I was wondering, what kind of programs do you guys use to design your models and animations?
We don't know, I guess.
No. For modeling, we mostly use 3D Studio Max, and everybody pretty much relies on Photoshop for any digital painting or texturing. For animating,
I use 3D Max for animating. A lot of people like to use Maya. It doesn't really matter what package you use, all the principles of animation still apply to both, so there isn't one that's better than the other.
Here comes trouble.
Hello. This question is for everybody. What's a favorite thing that you've been working on recently?
I'll take my favorite thing I've been working on recently is Blizzard Dota, because it's allowed me to always fulfill the dream that I've had of one day creating a Blizzard fighter, where we don't necessarily have a Street Fighter game where we can have our characters battling each other, but this one sort of takes care of that for me. So I love to see the franchises duking it out in a non-lore screwing up environment for all the lore people out there. It's just for fun. It's just fun. So that would be my favorite. Mr. Dilling?
I have to agree that the Dota map is probably our favorite one, just because, again, like you said, we get to do something kind of outside the norm. We get to make a tile set that doesn't have to be like, oh, and planet so-and-so, and 50 years ago, Kerrigan did this, and it has to be like that. We enjoy the franchise a lot, and the lore and history goes with it, and we have a great time with it. But sometimes it's fun just to do something totally random and off the beaten path a little bit.
I really enjoyed working on the Abomination. He's a lot of fun. I mean, when you look at him, you're just like, oh, that's so cool. I want to make this thing look so fat, and yet he's really super fast. And I went back to Phil Gonzalez on him, and I'm like, you know what, that guy needs more fat back boobs on him. So he went in and he remodeled it for me and stuff, and I put in some bones and made it all jiggly and stuff, and it worked out really good. So he was a lot of fun.
Well, for me, I'm actually trying to do a little more concept work, especially for Heart of the Swarm, so trying to get back into doing some painting, which I've been neglecting for the past couple of years, and tightening up those skills, so I'm actually enjoying learning again.
That's really cool.
Thank you, Sophia. That's my little daughter that asked that question. Taking up valuable time. What's the matter? Get back in your closet.
Hi. For the Warcraft 3 art tools, they used a very, very old version of 3ds Max. For the new art tools for StarCraft II, will it be compatible with the most up-to-date version, or will we have to go to like version 6 or 7 or?
I think we're going through like 3D Studio Release 1, possibly. No. That's really old, in case somebody knows. That's what I learned.
Geek joke, sorry.
Boo, yeah. You'll have to work on your Amiga for that one.
Actually, we were not going to release a whole lot of information about that right now, except for we are going to release art tools sometime in the future. But the plan right now basically is to have it to be the most up-to-date version possible at the time we release the tools. So I can't say what version that is, but yeah, we're trying to keep it a lot more current than the old War 3 tools.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
My question is about the art direction for the next expansion. Like the current Wings of Liberty had a really big difference in art direction from the original StarCraft. I'm wondering if like there's some new artists that are influencing your art direction for Heart of the Swarm.
No, we have the same team that worked on StarCraft. Basically, like Brian Sousa back here was also on the original StarCraft. Myself, a lot of the artists on the team were from the original StarCraft. So the way that we're going to be proceeding with Heart of the Swarm is sort of the same that we did with Wings of Liberty. Is take kind of what the basic direction of the original is, and then try to update it to a new 2010 sort of look. We're dealing with a 3D game now, so things are going to look a lot more sharp and crisp than the 10 pixel high Zealot we used to have in 1998.
We've all learned so much since StarCraft 1, and the designs and everything. We've pushed it to the next level. I think if you look back, a lot of the art is similar to StarCraft 1, but when we had a 256 palette to work with versus now the 16 million palette, we can get so much more colors and details into these models that we couldn't have before. So.
But it'll basically look more like Wings of Liberty than StarCraft Brood War.
Thank you very much.
All right.
Hi.
Hi.
Hey.
So when working on StarCraft II, on the art side, what was the most frustrating, problematic thing that you had to deal with?
The art team, mostly. It was so hard to get them to do anything that I wanted. No, I'm just teasing. One of the things that was actually kind of a pain to deal with was we had all just come from working on Warcraft 3 and the Frozen Throne. We had come from working on some World of Warcraft. So now we were in a sci-fi world. And a lot of times our stuff started looking a little bit too bright or a little bit too superheroic in proportion, a little bit too bouncy in the animation. So we had to re-gear ourselves to kind of learn what StarCraft was again. And I like to make the joke, we would have something on the screen, Okay, scale the head down a little bit by 15%. Scale the hands down 15%. Drop the saturation. That's like kind of the brightness of the color. Make that about 15% less. And then it started looking more StarCraft. So whenever we make something that is looking a little too Warcraft or something, we just say, hey, 15 that, and they kind of know what to do, and it turns out looking like StarCraft. Yeah, for me, that was one of the most difficult things we had to do, is try to keep StarCraft, and make sure Warcraft stayed over where Warcraft was.
And I just want to say something, because Dave Bergren isn't here right now, he's lead environment artist, but I think if you just mention cliffs to him, he will know exactly what you're talking about. I think he was in cliff hell for about 3 years, making and designing all of the cliff set for StarCraft.
How many pieces do the cliffs add up to?
There's over 200.
There's over 200 different versions of cliffs in StarCraft that need to be able to fit together and not have big
And then for all the different ones too, because there's Protoss cliffs and there's Terran cliffs and there's like natural cliffs. So all of those had to be modeled by hand by Dave, one piece at a time.
So Bergren means cliff builder in German.
So I had a question there. I've noticed some people have managed to import models from World of Warcraft into StarCraft II, and I was just curious what you guys felt about that.
It looks cool. You know, I hope one day we can be able to support it where people can, you know, maybe make their own models and stuff like that. But you know, I don't know logistic-wise or anything like that how the companies stand on it is. But when I first saw that, I thought that it was pretty cool seeing that. Not that I condone it, because I don't know if I'm allowed to or not. But it was kind of funny seeing that in our game. Warcraft stuff. It's kind of, that's why we made Blizz Dota. Just kidding.
All right, well, thanks.
All right. Sorry I didn't have a better answer on that. Bunch of artists.
Hi.
Hello.
I was just wondering if you could tell me who the main artists were that designed the look of the character Tychus Findlay, or was it just a whole bunch of people?
I believe the guy who did the concept of the marine armor, Joe Peterson, he's still working with us, stuff like that. He designed all the intricate details and everything, and the guy who actually modeled that, I believe, is Fausto DiMartini. Both guys still at the company, but that marine armor is so frigging intricate. It's if you look at the front of it, it almost looks like a Volkswagen looking at you, because it has the lights here and the round. Every time I see that now, I think of a Volkswagen. But yeah. And it's so difficult to draw because of the perspective on it. I'm not known for my perspective, as you can tell by my character proportions. But yeah, the guys who had worked on the marine armor, Joe Peterson and Fausto DiMartini.
Could I just ask one more question?
Absolutely.
The artwork where it shows all of Rainer's Riders together, or I mean Heaven's Devils,
yeah.
That sepia tone one, who drew that? Because I couldn't find
it.
It
was someone on our cinematic team. They were responsible for a lot of the pictures that you'd see in the bar room in StarCraft or in the postcards or things like that. They handled a lot of that. I'm not sure if in the art book it's in there. I don't know if you can see a signature on there, but yeah, I'm not sure who did that one. Sorry.
Thank you.
All right.
This is for the Dota game question thing. The question is, I know you guys are going to make new you're going to continue to create characters for the game. Are you going to actually create characters 100% new that aren't in either of the games for the game?
If we have a really fun idea for it, I think we will. It's tough when we have these three properties, StarCraft, Warcraft, and Diablo, that have so many just iconic characters. I think we're going to hit a lot of those first, and then if some sort of thing pops up, like, you know, when people were talking about Diablo and we did the little Diablo My Little Pony shirt with the rainbow, like we've just made up some new thing that was kind of funny. You can probably bet that we're going to be doing something like that if some cultural iconic character springs up in one of the universes, or just, you know, through fan stuff. we'll definitely hit that, like a Leroy Jenkins sort of thing. Who knows if he would ever end up in there? I think people would really like it, and it would be fun to do. Yeah, exactly. Everyone, let's hear a Leroy Jenkins. Let's hear it.
Leroy Jenkins.
I thought this was a StarCraft panel. What's going on here? All right, so yeah, I hope that answers your question.
All right, thank you.
All right. So we also, don't start leaving right now, because we actually have, after the questions are done, we have a small surprise for you guys. You get to buy us drinks. That's not it, but
Ryan's gonna give
that's okay.
Everybody.
What? Hi guys, I'm an aspiring model as well, and I was curious how much you guys go from like procedural animation or just traditional art, or if you guys have a nice mixture in between. Because I know a lot of guys that are more on the technical aspect and less on the aesthetic aspect, and then they make a nice mix. What do you guys think about that?
Do you mean by procedural, you mean by motion capture? Is that?
I'm not sure what I mean by procedural. More along the lines of coding and scripting into your artwork.
Well, in the game, we have a game engine that makes, the characters move around. And we do traditional animation that works with the game code. So yeah, it's kind of a cross between both, I guess.
Well, as a whatever production artist, most of our stuff is traditional. Like everything we do is hand painted textures and hand modeled. So there's no until it gets actually into the game is when the computer kind of takes over. But Jay draws everything. Animates everything by hand. Everything's all done by hand, and same thing with the textures and the modeling. Everything's done. And some of us, our team is really small, so we take it almost all the way through. Like I'll do my own concept work, I'll do my own modeling and texturing, and then if it does need to be animated, then we'll take it to the professional here, Jay. So, but he does it all by hand also. So it's not like we have a computer that, oh, this is a walk cycle, and we just throw it on there.
That said, we work together. We have 2 technical artists, and we work together with them to.
How's it going?
Good. It's like you have
Sorry,
a point?
go ahead.
God, attention hog. Jeez. It's because you have long hair and you're rock and roll. Where was I?
Where were you?
Talking about some boring stuff. Oh, technical artists. That's right. So we work together with technical artists and the programmers to actually figure out to some of the art limits, like how many bones we can have in the character, for instance. Like, can we actually afford to put, finger bones in there? The joints, how detailed we can get. So there is a lot of collaboration with that involved with the pure art side. We don't just go off and just make crazy stuff. We've got to work in the engine. We understand there's not just one unit on the game. There's 500 battling with nukes going off, and so in that regard, as far as limitations of it and how to best solve certain problems, like trying to make a cool snaky Zerg tail and like how that's going to run most efficiently in the engine. We definitely talk to the programmers and the tech artists about that stuff. So yeah, we definitely work with them.
Great, guys. Thank you. I enjoyed the game very much.
Thanks.
Awesome. Thanks.
Okay, we have time for one more question.
Excuse me. I was wondering if you ever browse fan websites and seen their fan art and fan concepts. Did you ever maybe borrow them or ask permission to use any of those concepts before, inspired by them?
No, usually the only fan art, specific Blizzard-related fan art, I look at a lot of the art sites like, concept art and DeviantArt and things like that. People will forward around cool artists. But the fan sites I particularly look at are the ones that I moderate the fan site, not the actual fan site, but I look at the submissions that we get at Blizzard for the fan art. So the fan art that goes up on our site, I kind of go through all the different art, select the ones that I think look the coolest, and put them in the appropriate folders, and then they update them. But as far as taking ideas from the fan sites, it's kind of difficult because we have so many artists on our team that have a billion ideas that they'll send you emails constantly, and you have to look through them but yeah, I think maybe if we had a shortage of ideas, but as it is now, we're still trying to get in. The reason why we made StarCraft II is to get all the ideas from the original StarCraft into the game that we wanted, it seems. So we have a ton of ideas for you guys, so we're not running dry yet.
Thank you.
Is that the last of the questions? Okay. So we've done this panel enough times, and you know a lot of you have come to this panel before, so we wanted to show you something a little new. So we did the mod stuff, but just as a little sort of thank you for sitting through our commentary and everything, we have some first concepts for Heart of the Swarm. So I'm just going to kind of go through quickly. We don't have a lot of answers. I'd love to answer questions for this, but half of this stuff is concept. It's just brain farts from our head that we have done. So we'll let you know what these are as we continue. These are both done by Peter Lee. And so I'm just going to kind of go through here, and here's some pretty concepts of things. Again, we don't know the names of them because we're going to end up changing the names. So that's maybe Zerg unit number 17. This one here by Mr. Jack, one of our new artists on the team. A lot of you fans out there might know that he had done a lot of concepts of the Zerg after we would send it out, and he'd show us what we did wrong and draw it cooler. So we hired him.
That is.
So all you fans out there, keep drawing.
That is a Zergling by his foot, by the way.
Oh yeah, the little Zergling down by his wee foot. I don't know who that girl is, anyone? Ooh. Okay. And it's not going to the next one, dude? These are obviously new Zerg units. No, in case some of you don't know the story, the guy who won the most recent big StarCraft tournament we had going was named Fruit Dealer, and after he won the match, we felt inspired, so we decided to do a fun little tribute to him. So I believe it's the Banana Lisk, the Apple Lord, and the Grapeling. Though there is some disputes about the grapes should be the Overlord version, because I don't know why, you fans are crazy, but there's a fight about that apparently.
Also, the bananas are OP, I think.
Yeah.
We got to patch that.
And so this is the last little bit of actual in-game art. Just stay here. Do I need to press this to make it play since I haven't had any movies yet? There we go. So there's your Terran bunker.
One of our artists, Steve Provost, made this as a cool concept and some possibilities for Heart of the Swarm.
Let's see if I can go back and we can watch that again. Fruit Dealer! Okay, let's watch this again. Now pay attention. This could be happening to your base someday.
Or not.
Nice.
There's no sound effects, so do you guys want to make some?
You notice there's a Marine on his left foot that's being dragged along.
Very nice.
And so, that concludes our StarCraft II art panel for this year at BlizzCon. Thank you for all coming out again and supporting Blizzard. We love you guys.
Thank you so much.
Woo.